Watercolor techniques, birds, with Mr. G. All right, today when we start out with our watercolors, the first thing we want to do is we want to dip into the water just like we've done before, and then go to the paint that we're going to choose. I'm going to choose a red here. You'll be able to choose whatever color you want to, and just going to swirl it around really good. Get a good mix in there, and then you'll be able to get a lot of paint onto your brush. And then once we do that, we're going to start with the bottom of our bird. Now this won't look like a bird for a while because this is really about creating gradation. So it's kind of a U-shaped bottom, and as we do the other ones, you'll be able to see how I start the other ones too, and kind of choose the way that you want to do it, whatever way might be the easiest way. So I dipped a little bit of water. I washed the brush off, dipped a little bit of water, and now I'm doing what they call pulling. So I'm dabbing a little bit, and then I'm pulling from the bottom and going up. And I'm trying to make kind of a circle, but not really. Maybe more of an oval shape almost. And you'll kind of be able to choose whatever shape you really want to. These ones tend to work out best. They're the easiest to work with. And then as you do one or two, or maybe even three, you can decide what you would like to do differently. So you can see from the bottom of it, it's a dark red, and then as it goes up, it gets lighter. So now I'm going to try a blue. So I'm going to swirl that blue around really good, get a good amount of paint on the brush, dab it a little bit, and then just again start with the bottom. I ended up with a little bit too much water on this one at the beginning, I thought, but I'm just going to go with it anyways. You can see that we don't really have a perfect shape on the bottom at all, and that's just fine. This is watercolor, and watercolor is not necessarily always perfect anyway. So now I'm going to do that same thing. I'm going to pull the color up from the bottom. Notice that I dabbed my paintbrush before I did that and washed it and dabbed it on the paper towel. And now I'm just pulling that color up. This time you'll notice that I didn't have as much dark color on the bottom as I probably wanted to do. But that's going to be okay for this. We can always fix that, actually. With watercolor, you can always add more. So I'm going to go with a green one. We're going to kind of clip along here because I want to give you 4 good examples of what these things look like. And then you can kind of choose how you would like to proceed, how you'd like to go ahead. So again, I'm just going to start with the bottom part of it. That's kind of a U shape. I found that the U shape works the best because it's like almost a half of an oval, half of a circle. I'm going to wash the brush off again, and then we're going to dab it onto the paper towel like that, and then we're going to do our pulling again. We're pulling that up, and if you remember from what we did last week with the raindrops, we're creating a gradient. We're going from a dark to a light. And this time we can't use pressure, so we're going to use water, or we're going to use less paint on our brush. And as we go up, it gets a little bit lighter. So I did all of this so far in about 3 minutes. And so you can take your time doing this. I just wanted to let you know that it can be kind of easy to do this part of it. But I always love it when you take your time doing your artwork, because the more time you take to doing it, the better it usually turns out. I find that to be true for myself too. All right, I'm going to wash my brush out again. And this time I'm going to choose, I think brown is what the color I'm going to choose this time. Swirl it around, get a good amount of paint on there. And now I'm going to make a U shape again. This time it looks like I got quite a bit of paint on the bottom, which is great. That's what I really want. It's kind of a dark color on the bottom, and then I'll be able to go up and get it lighter and lighter. So the U shape, then I'll wash my brush off. And I'll dab it on the paper towel, get some of that water off. This time I'm dabbed a little less. So you might notice that there's more water on my brush. You see how that makes that really cool swirl? This is how pulling really works well. So you have a little bit of water on your brush, and then you pull from that dark area and bring it up. It gets lighter and lighter. It takes a little bit longer for it to dry, but that's okay, and you end up with more of an artistic look to it, more of a unique look too. I think that one might turn out the best for me. Notice I just dabbed my brush onto the paper towel and dried it off, and now I'm kind of making it a little bit more of a lighter area. It's almost using it like an eraser, really, taking away some of that paint. And that'll make a little bit more of a lighter area for me. And definitely you can probably see the gradient from the dark to the light. And this is where we can start to be a little bit more creative, and this will probably start looking a little bit more like a bird. So I'm just going to draw a couple of skinny little legs, because birds have skinny little legs, whether they're long or whether they're short. Those legs are almost always pretty skinny. So if you've ever drawn a stick figure before, you could probably do this too. And that's really what I'm doing. I'm not trying to do a realistic bird. I don't have a picture of a realistic bird. But I do know in my head that birds have legs, and this is kind of my creative way of doing it. So now I'm going to do a triangle. Let's do that beak. And then most of us can make a triangle. So I'm going to use a marker on this one and make a little bit of a triangle just sticking up. And it looks like that nose is going up to the left, so that means I'm going to put an eye. I'm going to take my marker and I'll put an eye right to the right of that. Make a tiny little circle and then fill in just part of it and just leave a little bit of white on it. Then you can kind of use that for a reflection. And I just put a little bump on the other side because that's where the other eye is. Now I'm going to speed things up a little bit, so you'll notice me drawing some legs in different styles. Notice this one had legs. I thought I'd make the legs bend a little bit because some birds have knees. Once again, put some eyes on. Just leave a little bit of white in there. Give some really good character to any kind of thing that you create with eyes. I think those ones that are staring from the front are probably the easiest to do. So if you want to go that route, that's the best way to go, rather than doing something from the side. But check it, test it out, see how it works for you. I have this bird sitting down, so I just put those legs out and I put the little toes up. This one will probably be the easiest one. You just put a couple little circles for eyes. Leave a little bit of white space, just like that. And this last one I thought I would have dancing, having some fun, maybe looking over to the right there. And finally, I just decided to put a little bit of a background, a little bit of ground, and I chose kind of a light brown and just did a gradation from the top down to the bottom. And lastly, one of the most important parts of your artwork is to sign it. Sign Mr. G on there. You should do your name on your artwork. This is a little bit more advanced for the students who want to try something a little bit different. I saw a robin earlier this week, and though I know that robins have kind of a dark top and an orange bottom, so I just put some dark brown on the top and then some orange kind of attached to that, and just made it a little bit lighter. You can kind of see how that does it, how that worked. And if you ever have a problem where you have too much paint, what I do is take this little paper towel, I roll it up really thin, and then you're able to dab the paint away. It's really a neat way to do this without having to do it with your brush. So you kind of have a little tiny brush just by itself, and you just dab the areas you think you have too much water on it or maybe too much paint while it's still wet, and you'll be able to kind of take paint away, just like an eraser almost. So I thought that might be kind of a handy hint for you. And now I'll just give you a couple more examples after I finish this bird. I tried mixing a couple different blues, one blue and then another blue, and then I just gradated it out. Added a couple on beak, eyes, legs. There's the eyes. And then I went and found kind of a rainbow colored bird because I wanted to see what color birds there were. And found one that was purple and pink and even a little bit orange. Then I used a dry brush to make a little bit of feathery type of an area on the outside of the bird. And then just put some branches in. That's it. Thanks for watching.